Hello, I'm Eileen Hernandez.
Hi, I'm Alexandra.
Hello, my name is Alex.
Tiffany Costa.
Do you know what social death is? If not, look it up.
No, give me a second, let me read it.
I don't, actually.
Go ahead and look it up.
Okay, look it up.
I do not, but I could look it up.
Yeah, I just recently learned that it's like discrimination, basically.
So I would think, based on what I'm reading, that it would mean like discrimination from society due to your ethnicity or race.
So I think social death is when an individual isn't fully accepted by their society, whether because they're like a minority or like marginalized minority.
Seeing someone as less of a human, I guess it could be applied toward racism, maybe sexism as well.
Can you share a personal or observed experience?
I think an example that I would provide for myself would be that when I went to the Gucci store, I was, I guess you could say, profiled differently than another friend of mine when we entered together because we're both different ethnicities. And when they were able to choose like what wallet they wanted to buy, like the lady attending us was open to the idea. But once I said what I wanted, she was like, "You do realize it is this certain price. We could look for something cheaper for you." And I was like, What's going on, guys? I can afford this, I think. But still.
I wouldn't say I have like an experience with like really social death, but I want to say like there were times like I felt out of place. For example, I grew up in Hawaii where majority people who live there are Asian, and for high school like I moved to California, specifically a city that majority population are white people, and I wouldn't say I experienced social death, but I definitely did feel a little out of place because that was the first time I think I felt like in a way like I feel like I stood out.
I wouldn't say I had any full experiences of social death, but I do think it is very present around me, but I'm fortunate enough to say that I don't think I've personally experienced it.
I would say a personal experience I have is during high school, since it was predominantly Hispanics, and we were at like a school dance, and I remember there was like banda music playing, and I was dancing to it, obviously, and they basically told me that like you're not allowed to dance to this because you're white.
Do you know what intersectionality is?
Yes, it's where gender and race collide.
Can you give me an example of how intersectionality played a role in your life?
In a kind of a negative tone, one thing that happened was when I went to my high school for the first time, I met a few guys that kind of openly said like they were into Asian women, and it was like I knew that was kind of a, not a stereotype, but I knew that was kind of a thing with some people, but it was the first time I experienced it, and it was a little off-putting. So I guess, yeah, just that like I just met some people who were just like, that was their type.
Being a white woman in a STEM field, I feel as though I'm talked over a lot and not taken as seriously.
For me personally, since I am Hispanic male, in my culture, I guess Hispanic women are seen more as like lesser in a household, right? And I see that through a first-hand experience with my family. When they make the women in our family cook for us, bring us food when we want more, and things like that. I don't do that, but that's what I have observed.
Growing up within a Hispanic household as a first-gen female, it is actually really hard. It's harder and have higher expectations from our parents compared to my siblings who are male figures.
Do you know what the possessive investment in whiteness is?
When I hear the term, I would think of like white power.
Basically, for lack of better words, white power. I don't believe that I do have any experiences with that because I've grown up in Merced where whites are a minority, and I've grown up in my friends' Hispanic culture and family and feel as though I'm a part of their family and culture.
And this was during like the height of COVID. This one time this customer like came in and I like bagged her order, and then after that she just called me a communist out of nowhere. For a while I couldn't tell if I should be offended or confused. So but yeah, that was one time when I was like, okay.
I guess I have experiences that haven't been put upon me, but I guess through pure observation and experiences I've always felt as if maybe white people do have some sort of upper hand. Though it's never been displayed to me, I just feel like it's always there.
One of my philosophy professors, something that I realized throughout the semester as time went by is that he would typically just like, if two students would raise their hand, one was like Hispanic and the other one was like white, basically he would choose first the white person, and typically they would get higher scorings within their essays and paperwork.
Out of those three topics, which one should be addressed the most?
I think the second one, just because I feel like it's very true, at least in my culture, and I've noticed it even with my cousins that they're treated as a little lesser than me because, you know, I'm a guy. And even though they work as hard they work just as hard or harder than me, they don't get the credit they deserve.
I think social death should really be addressed first and maybe the most, because I feel like that's something like individually that people feel, and that it's something that everyone can feel at some point in their life depending on situations. So I want to say, yeah, social death.
I think possessive whiteness, just because I think that is one that's most noticeable within it, because it's not like just yourself sometimes, it's like you see it within others majority of the time. That didn't make sense.
I believe that intersectionality should be addressed the most, only because I deal with it in my day-to-day life here on campus.